sister? He shakes his head. It was a package deal, I'm afraid, he says. Likely your sister is already in the hands of Thog's minion. Though I don't know if their cult has much presence in Windborne. No, you hiss, you will pay. Maybe, he says, nodding. As I said, I take no pleasure in this, nor was I eager to carry out your capture. I had not even given the orders to take you yet. As it turns out, you saved me the trouble. I would have rather you not slaughter my halflings, though. What? As it turns out, you saved me the trouble. Trouble of what? Oh, coming here? Right. I would have rather not slaughtered my... rather you not slaughtered my halflings, though. What is Phoebe doing, by the way? Does she just go back to the succubus again? I'm guessing. Tried to kill me, you say. Darren presses his lips together tightly for a moment as he leans down towards you before hissing, "No honor." He stands up and begins pacing. Stump knew you had been sold to the Thogians, so must have decided to rob you. As for killing you, well, I think that I'd think of that as her trying to do you a favor, considering he lets his sentence trail off as he shakes his head. Halflings are no better than men when tempted. The pledge and even the mark of the house inked into their flesh is too often not enough. He stops pacing and stares down at you. The house is law. The law must be obeyed. Law provides a purpose, and shared purpose begets the law. Rue is evil, you wheeze. Okay, I don't like that one because, as I've said before in the past, if you watch my channel, you would know. I don't really consider anything good or evil. Everything from a different perspective changes for everyone. So I don't think those words are for me. I would use good and bad. I do use good and bad just for like a societal, like subjective way of speaking things, but I do not use evil because that's way too objective, and that's not a word I prefer using. You wheeze and starting to gain control over your voice. Do not pretend it is better. Perhaps, he says, yet law is better than chaos. I know that much. He gazes off, his eyes obviously elsewhere, breaking out of his strength. Yeah, actually, if she had killed us, what is her name? What is her name again? The halfling, whatever her name was. The halfling would have killed us. I think that would have been better, considering if we go to the Thogs, they're not just gonna kill us. I mean, they're gonna torture us and kill us. The problem is that Rooster's soul is gonna go to Thog because they're under like direct guise of Thog. If he dies anywhere else, he ends up in the resurrection cycle, and if his luck is bad and the gods are manipulating, he might end up in that thing. What is it called? The Infinite Staircase from Viz's Choice. He might end up there. But other than that, I think his odds would be like way better than they are right now, because this situation is gonna get him fucked the fuck up. Like, this is not good. And so Infinite Staircase would still be better than, but if he dies under Thog's minions, his soul is just going straight to Thog, and that's not gonna end well. He does promise oblivion, but I don't know how long it will take for oblivion to come, so take from that what you will. He gazes off, his mind obviously elsewhere, breaking out of his trance. He quickly walks over to one of the scrying stones and waves over it, saying a strange word. I'm accustomed to cool darkness, yet even I get chilled down here, he says. It's all water and dampness. That's what you get for living under a city that has a river running through it. A naked pretty woman emerges from the pool in the corner of the room. Her pale skin flashes blue for a moment as she turns towards Darren. Darren strips off his light clothing and drapes it over a pedestal. Does he just take off everything? Now there is a naked dark elf before you, all pale skin and sinewy muscle. You can't help but look at his manhood. It's long and thin, like he is. Form me, Neritva? He says to the water woman. You groan in protest. Although if you're honest with yourself, you're curious what will happen next. You do not shut your eyes. With a resigned expression, Neritva steps forward and wraps her arms around him. He puts his hands on her narrow waist. She nestles her face into the crook of his neck. Steam begins to rise off of her, and water pours out of her skin, running over Darren's body. So I don't think this is sex. I think this is just like cleaning, really, like a soap land or something. I don't know. Oh yes, he whispers in ecstasy. He pushes his face up and latches his mouth into her throat, reminding you of a vampire Irenova, yet she does not bite her. Soon, you see he is licking and sucking the water off her skin. It is sweet, Nikolai, he says, then takes another gulp. These are of the river, as much spirit as there are mortal bodies, he gulps. They are life. He continues to writhe over her, drinks for perhaps a minute or two, when the doors open. In walks Krugel wearing a fresh robe, carrying a cloth sack. He stops and stares at the river woman. He licks his lips. I mean, I didn't know Krugel was about that life. Like he seemed like a very stoic sort of person, but I guess he's about that life. He's about robbing and all that. Licks his lip. Enough, Naretva. Go, says Darren. Naretva disengages from him, looks over, her eyes locked on the severed head of the toad demon. She smiles. Yes, says Darren, rolling his eyes. You have him to thank for that. Dark Elf points at you. Now go. Navrata nods at you before hurriedly retreating back to the pool, disappearing under the surface. This might actually be helpful. I know where this is going. They're gonna make that combat situation was to make sure that we kill the toad demon, and soon what are the names? The merfolk, they're gonna help us. I'm guessing at some point when the Thogs are transporting or whatever under this river or whatever, that's when the merfolk are gonna help us. Invox crew, yeah. She smiles. Yeah, we already read all that. Navarta nods at you before retreating back to the pool and dissipating at the surface. Darren winks at you and grins. If you're good, maybe I'll let you taste her before you leave. You may not even mind. None of the merfolk had much affection for Argos. It has been some time for me, says Krugel, a warming, I mean. Darren says nothing to his truthsayer as he reaches for his clothes on the scrying stone pedestal. His naked skin has the slightest hint of pink now. He's still steaming. He puts on his clothes. With a faint smile, he watches Krugel as though taunting the truthsayer. He turns to you and, keeping his faint smile, Law has its advantages. I swore obedience to Unum, god of law, many years ago, and he has blessed me ever since. He saved me from the fate I was born into. Krugel stares. Oh, I get what he's trying to say, because the Dark Elf, Dark Elf women are the dominant one in their society, and it's not like normal like our society where like they're still equal. Like I can see some inequalities here and there and just inborn stuff, but other than that, their society is like ancient, patriarchal society. It's not like normal society as we have today, or like slightly patriarchal society, like slightly male leaning. It's like insanely male leaning, and their society is like insanely female leaning. It's not like matriarchal society. That's a different thing. From the sounds of it, they're just like insanely female leaning. They're like a group of feminists, I guess you could say. That's what they are. That's how it is. So he saved me from the fate I was born into. Krugel stares at the Dark Elf for a few moments, as though confirming that his master is done speaking. He then regards you. No shackles were available. He says in what surprisingly sounds like an apologetic tone, this will be less comfortable. What exactly is it? Truthsayer binds your wrist and ankles together with a thin rope. Thin rope? Seriously? He's cold, announces Krugel, pressing his fingers against the skin of your wrist. Tokens will not take kindly to his premature death. Get him off the floor, out of the water, says Darren. Krugel looks around. There is no bedchamber. He bites his lip. Maybe have Navarta warm him? I don't think he has earned that yet, says Darren. A grin grows on the Dark Elf's face. I know what he has earned. Lay him atop the corpse he made. Krugel nods. There is some justice in that. He grabs you by your cloak and pulls. Come on, he says to you. I know you have some strength. Help me. You will be warmer for it. It's tempting to resist and continue to lay in the chill water. Death from cold is probably best you can hope for now. Anything would be better than Thog, but you suppose that if you resist, these two villains will simply cast more spells upon you and force their way. That is true. You allow yourself to be led to the headless demon, lay on top of it. The stench is horrid, yet this fat beast makes for a surprisingly comfortable bed despite the armor plates. Darren leaves his scrying stones and faces you. He waves his hands and says a few arcane words. Presently, a small fire, about the size of a typical campfire, springs out of the floor near you. The water at the base of the fire does nothing to diminish the flames. You roll over on the wide corpse to get closer to the warmth of the fire. Darren goes back to what you suppose is his normal business, communing with one crystal ball after the next. You can't see what he's speaking to, you can't hear what he speaks back, but it seems that Darren can hear them. Once he has completed tying you up, Krugel moves close to his master, whispering to him. They occasionally use your real name, Nikolai, the name leaping up from low murmuring the way one's name always does. You see one of the shrine mirrors turn black, and a shadowy hand reaches out from the surface of the hand, handing Darren a parchment. The Dark Elf unrolls the scrolls and reads it. The ghostly hand takes the scroll back. A minute later, a handsome man with long hair streaked with Green steps out of the waiting pool in the corner of the chamber? Is he also a water spirit or something? Hands during a stroll, a water beads and drips unnaturally off water beads and drips unnaturally off the parchment. Darren and Krugel huddle together and read it. Upon finishing, Darren summons the ghostly hand again, which takes the scroll away. Gradually, you feel your strength returning and you struggle against your bonds. It's no use. Although Krugel does not appear to be a particularly strong man, he knows how to tie a knot. Bitterly, you reflect on how you keep getting paralyzed and tied up. If Egra was here, she would probably be mocking you. Well, she's not here though. Life increases 5 for some reason. Eventually, you close your eyes and try to get some rest. Surprisingly, fall asleep. Soon, you are awakened by a pounding on the door. Groan as you struggle against your bonds. Look about, realizing recent events were not just a nightmare. Darren swiftly walks over to one of the crystal balls and peers into it. A child, he says. In the name of Kree Uzaz, let me. Is that a child? Are we talking about Phobe? Is Phobe here? I highly doubt it. In the name of Kree Uzaz, let me in. Comes a muffled woman's voice through the door. Darren frowns and he waves his hand over the scrying stone. The door into the chamber opens. Phobe stumbles into the room, her eyes wide, her face streaked with tears. There's a clinking sound, metal against metal, armor on the move. Look what I found wandering about your secret lair. Comes a woman's jeering voice. Okay, so there are two women though. There's Phobe and a random woman. Jeering voice, seemingly from thin air. There's a shimmering beside Phobe like a pillar of heat, and an armored knight appears. A woman as evidenced by the female crafted armor, curvy with a generous bust. Holy shit. The armor is black as obsidian with strange red painted upon it. Painted runes adorning it. Woman evidenced by a female crafted. It's a female. Oh, the reason why they said female crafted armor, they're probably to emphasize that it's one of those like boob armors, like mainly focuses on breasts and stuff. Like it's probably focuses on extremities, but like still curvy and with a generous bust. I really appreciate that detail. The visor is up, her gauntlet hands grasping the visor as though she had just raised it. She has large, beautiful eyes. She pulls the helm off to reveal a striking face. Her hair is tied up in a bun. With a tug, her luxurious brown hair falls down around her like a dark angel. If the hair were not brown, I would have almost said it's Narissa, but no, it is not. It might be the one lady from that one place that was laughing at us. Well, I shouldn't say that. That's not a very precise description considering every woman is laughing at us. But that's besides the point. I'm talking about when we went to the antique shop or something, and there was a woman on the first floor when we left the underground. Anyhow, having not realized that you have been holding your breath, you now suck in air and pull your attention from this beauty. Krugel's jaw has dropped and Darren's body appears tense. The woman gives them each a level look. Do not look so surprised. You summoned me from Kree? I do not believe it. It takes longer to. As it happens, I was in the vicinity already, says the woman, cutting Darren off. She pulls. So, she's a demon? A paladin? Like a night demon? I don't know. Like maybe it's a death knight or something? I'm not sure. I mean, they ordered someone from Kree, which I'm guessing is the demon realm. Because that's where they call the toad demon from. So I'm guessing that's. Yeah, she might be a demon knight, death knight. As it happens, I was in the vicinity already, says the woman, cutting Darren off. She pulls one of her gauntlets off and inspecting her painted red nails on her one hand. As though she had forgotten all of you, she scowls at her hand, obviously displeased with what she sees. What happened to her hand? She pulls off one of her gauntlets off and inspecting her painted red nails on her one hand, as though she had forgotten all about you. She would never even remembered us. She scowls at her hand, obviously displeased with what she sees. This is so confusing. What the hell is this random piece of like dialogue? She just looks at her hand. She forgets about her, even though she doesn't even know about her because she never even looked at us. And then she's like angry at her hand. Okay. Krugel takes a timid steps towards the woman. His eyes dewy with awe. You're of the carnal sisterhood? She looks up with her nails and rolls her eyes. Yes, but never use that term again. It is not for you. I go by the name Vesa, a favored succubus of Galmagus, the lord of Kree Uzaz. The lord, says Darren. He's one of the several lords of that city. Have you not heard? Says Vesa. I don't know how to read that name. If it was N, I would just call her Vanessa, but no, it's Vesa. Shaking her head with mock sadness, the fool is dead, and the other took the knee. Gal is the lord of Kree. Send my congratulations, says Darren with a flat tone. God, she's succubus, you think? Are there any human women in the city?